Modernity is here. Modern times and beyond call for newer and better ways of looking at things. It's a time we must take a paradigm shift and be able to see things much better, more broadly, more deeply, more widely, and even more simplistically than we have been doing before and than the way we are ordinarily used to. We must be able to look at things far beyond what is trending. We must be able to think far beyond what we are used to. We should also always be comfortable with seeing things far beyond what others see. We cannot just get satisfied with setting trends and stop there. We must be able to see far beyond what's trending, or even near and nearer than what's trending. We must be thorough and also much more simply. As need be, we must not just be satisfied with the status quo. It's a time we define the next level of modernization. Modernization doesn't reach a crescendo and stop there. We must look at issues that are of major concern to the modern world and modern humanity. Issues of the environment and a diverse climate change are of major importance and concern to people around the world. That's because of necessity. It's never a matter of choice at all. Human life and life generally on our planet is under threat if we don't protect the environment. If the climate doesn't get reversed such that it doesn't keep getting worse and more unpredictable, then I don't know what we can say. We must take measures to ensure that the environment is protected and a diverse climate change is reversed. That way, we'll be assured that human life on our planet will continue surviving. We are the only intelligent part of the environment. Incidentally, we are basically and chiefly the only part of the environment which is destroying the rest of the environment. Evidence shows that it's us, humans, who are responsible for activities that have led to a diverse climatic change. People talk generally from an ivory tower perspective, calling for climatic action. Well, if we approach it from the bottom up, we can make a much better impact much faster. While governments take long to act because of politics and the bureaucracy and because of complexity involved, us as individuals, you, me, and everybody else as individuals, both common people and the leaders acting on our individual level, we can take measures that will ensure our environment is protected and a diverse climate change is reversed. And that way, life on our planet redeemed or assured. How? We must change our lifestyle and habits. The way we consume things must change. The way we look at things must change. I'm using must because it's never a matter of choice anymore. It is an absolute necessity if we have to ensure survival of humans and life on our planet. We must change the way we dispose waste. We must reduce hazardous waste. We must reduce production of hazardous waste. We must reduce producing invisible gaseous pollutants, which are always a matter of contention, because when we have invisible pollutants, not many people agree that we have them in the atmosphere. People only get satisfied when they see what's visible, like the smoke which used to be there sometimes back in the US and in Europe, which forced the government to take action and reverse or end smoke and acidic rainfall. These days, there's evidence that we are producing gaseous pollutants, part of which, or a big portion of which, is invisible and is accumulating continually in the atmosphere. That keeps taking a toll on human health, animal health, and on plant life. We must take action to ensure such a pollution ends or is eliminated altogether. We must reduce production of pollutants. For instance, by changing our lifestyle, we can drive less and less, use less and less fossil fuels, destroy forests less and less. In other words, we stop destroying forests deliberately and with finality. We stop cutting down trees. We can also plant trees as much as possible. So, in our habits or lifestyle change, we must change the way we consume things and the way we produce pollutants. We must reduce pollutant production by reducing fossil fuel use, for instance, by driving less, driving more efficient cars, sharing cars or sharing a ride or a lift, using public transportation. If you live in a place where there's public transportation, instead of driving, people can choose to use public transportation much more frequently. And by sharing rides and using public transportation, we can save the environment. We can also reduce use of plastics. We eliminate or reduce drastically burning waste. When we burn waste, gaseous pollutants go into the air. So if we reduce burning waste and instead dispose of it more appropriately, we can eliminate polluting the atmosphere. So there are many ways you can use in our lifestyle change to reduce pollutants. For instance, we may decide rather to buy more products from businesses, manufacturers, and the producers who use renewable energy for production. That way, we enable them to expand use of renewables and as eliminate or reduce significantly the reliance of fossil fuels. And those who have not moved into renewable sources of energy will be encouraged to invest more in that. Another way we can change and redeem the environment is from a technical perspective. We can produce more efficient technologies, processes, and the things which consume energy or power. If they are more efficient, they produce less energy. And that way, the level of generation from fossil fuels will reduce because the demand for such energy will go a little bit lower or much lower. We can also focus on investing more in renewable sources of energy. We can also change the way we generate power or energy from renewable sources of energy. For instance, we can harvest energy more from solar and wind and even from the sea. A lot of energy from the sun is lost all the year round, mostly in the tropics. In the temperate countries, such energy is also lost or wasted as heat during summer. We can harvest that energy and use it for cooling during summer and store much or most of it for use during winter. So by investing more and by innovating more and making more innovations in the area of solar energy harvesting, we can ensure that we harvest as much energy as we can, and that way reduce our reliance on fossil fuels for as energy sources. Thirdly, we have to change our mindset, the way we look at things. We don't have to rely on hindsight and myopia. We must look at issues more creatively, more pragmatically, more realistically, and more practically. We must apply wisdom and foresight always. Along that argument, we must divine the next levels of modernization and put protection of the environment central to it. Covering all these mindset change, habits or lifestyle change, and also looking at issues from a technical perspective, we must also not forget that we must continue planting trees. Instead of concentrating all our efforts urging governments to take action, we can take action as individuals and keep continuing planting trees, afforestation, or planting more forests or increasing acreage under forests, and also replacing forests which have been reduced by human activity. So afforestation and reforestation or deforestation are important. We must also continue planting indigenous trees everywhere. We must stop the habit of dumping waste into rivers and other water masses. We must look at the way we dispose chemical and other waste. We can also reduce our reliance on plastics. We must reduce the use of plastics and polythene. Polythene bags are used for shopping from groceries and other stores or shops. So we can change and start using other bags and eliminate or reduce significantly use of plastics and boarding bags. We can, for instance, use cotton bags or sets of bags or straw bags, which are biodegradable. That way, we can reduce reliance on plastics. So let us take a paradigm shift and put environmental matters central to our lifestyle. At our individual levels, we must reduce pollution into the air. We must look at the way we dispose waste. We must reduce or eliminate burning of chemicals or other waste. Instead of burning, we can dispose of such a waste more appropriately. That way, gaseous pollutants in the air will be reduced. We can also drive less, conserve energy more, and reduce the amount of energy we use every day. That way, our reliance on fossil fuel production will reduce because the demand for energy will reduce. So by changing our lifestyle and habits, we can make an impact. We can plant trees, we can engage in agroforestry, planting indigenous trees with crops, and also reducing pollutants into the air, and also stop dumping waste in the rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, and other water masses. We must get organized. For what we do today will ensure we survive tomorrow. So every time we reduce waste, every time we reduce pollution, we make it, we create a better world and make it more practicable for us all to survive on our planet. So it is time you, me, and everybody else, whether you are a leader or ordinary citizen, it's a time we take action at our individual level to reduce pollution, to plant trees continually, to increase forest acreage, and to continue planting indigenous vegetation or trees, and also stopping erratic dumping into the oceans, rivers, seas, and other water masses, and even on land. We must look at the way we dispose waste. We must stop the practice of burning waste. We must end the practice of destroying forests. Every measure we take, even in a small way, can help protect our planet. We must also look at the way we invest in energy. We must invest more and more in renewable sources of energy and in harvesting solar energy in the tropics and also in the temperate lands during summer. That will enable us to reduce or eliminate our reliance on fossil fuels for energy. That way, we'll be able to save our planet. For peace is all that matters.